What is good, so family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one, I'm going to do something a little bit different from usual. I'm going to talk about AMC stock and why this relates to Tesla, why AMC has some opportunity that just came out very recently. I'm going to actually talk about the whole court case and why this is actually bringing about some opportunity. And then when it comes to the way AMC moves, this could actually help us when it comes to how we trade in general, especially when it comes to trading Tesla. So I'm going to break down the lessons you could learn from trading AMC and how they relate to Tesla, what's going on with AMC since so many people are asking me to make some videos about AMC, and talk about some very important things that are going on, which could improve your trading. It could be used as an exercise to help you with Tesla trades and etc. I'm going to break down what's happening with AMC. Before I do anything like that, let me just mention a couple of things. I'm firstly not a financial planner. Make sure you take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. The offer ends very soon, in just about 10 days, so check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. I also want to add one more thing that I'm going to make another video about the NASDAQ 100 rebalancing in just a couple of hours. It's going to be released. I'm going to talk about how this may affect Tesla as well in that video. It's coming out a little bit later today, so if you're interested in learning about this, what's happening with this, and if it will actually affect Tesla, check out the video coming out in just a couple of hours. Until then, I just want to focus on AMC because so many people are coming up to me and saying, you need to talk about AMC. What is your opinion? I'm going to share what I think about it and what is likely going to happen to it. All right, so for AMC, okay, AMC was very flat, trading sideways, not really doing much for many, many months. Then all of a sudden, if you look at today, we got a crazy, crazy run to the upside in the after hours. It's currently up like 63%. At one point, it was up about 100%. And the question is, why did this happen? What's going on with this? How on earth does this relate to trading and Tesla? What is going on? So just so you know, the market is looking kind of slow right now, right? SPY is slowing down. SPX is slowing down. The NASDAQ is slowing down. Tech is slowing down. Tesla is looking slow as we're approaching some big tech earnings and etc. And as the market's a little slow, we could sometimes take advantage of other opportunities, other squeeze plays, other big moves, other big stocks that are moving very big, and things like that during times like these. So that's why AMC is offering a good opportunity, and I want to just call it out. And on top of this, the way you trade AMC will relate to the way you trade Tesla once I talk about that in just a couple of minutes. But first, I have to talk about what's going on with AMC. I need to give you guys a very good refresher about it and talk about how this actually works. So, anyways, going back to August of 2022, basically what happened was AMC was trading and a lot of people were buying into it. It was just pumping, approaching its earnings. And then after its earnings, it actually dumped and got one more pump because AMC announced the creation of APE. And basically, what APE is it's a new equity unit that was created on the New York Stock Exchange. It's actually listed on there. And AMC took some value out of every single one of the shares, created and matched every share with an APE unit. And everyone owned those that owned AMC shares if they held through the creation process. And those APEs, if anything, have some value, but it's actually much less than that of AMC right now. AMC used APE to raise capital. They were able to dilute this many times, and they simultaneously had other intentions with basically issuing these APE equity units. But the question is, what does this have to do with anything? Why is this so important? Well, what happened was as time progressed, here's how the math works. Basically, in the beginning, okay, AMC had like a few 100 million shares. Then AMC starts to dilute the share price over and over and over again in 2021. And then AMC ran out of the amount of shares it's able to issue without retail approval, right? So if they wanted more shares, they would have to get retail's permission. If a company is constantly diluting the share price, all right, it's going to lead to downside in the stock price because you're issuing more shares. So in essence, they created a total, or they issued a total of 516 million legal outstanding AMC shares that we can actually confirm. And that's how many shares there were for the float, 516 million. But then what happened was AMC could not dilute AMC more. AMC, when I say AMC could not do it, I meant like the AMC board, they cannot dilute AMC anymore. So they came up with an idea. The idea was to create this thing called APE, which they could dilute, right? So in August of 2022, they created APE. And the way it worked is if a person had 100 AMC shares, this is basically for all their shareholders who are holding through the time. If they had 100 AMC shares, during the APE creation process, you would maintain those 100 AMC shares, but they would take a little bit of value from them. So they drop in value just a tiny bit. And they would take that value and put it into APE. And then you would also have 100 APE equity units, right? It's kind of like having a stock. They're basically very, very similar in a lot of ways, except AMC is backed by AMC stock fundamentally, and APE isn't really backed the same way. So basically, you have AMC stock, then you have APE equity units. They're like two different stocks in a way. APE was created by taking some value out of AMC to create this one. And this is kind of like a stock, and AMC dilutes this to raise capital. That's all you really need to know. They also do other things with it, but that's just worth noting. So, what happened over time? We had 516 million AMC shares officially. That is currently the official outstanding float. And then we had 516 million apes in total, right? Well, what did AMC do? It started diluting ape to raise more cash. Why is AMC after cash? Because we are most likely going to be entering a recession very soon. And many companies like to issue dividends or do things like that to maintain shareholders, to get them to keep their shares so that the companies have more liquidity, or even to raise more capital through dilutions. That's another like strategy that companies do so that they have more cash at hand during times of uncertainty when the Fed is when the Fed is raising rates. All right. So, anyways, we started off with 516 million apes. We added another 125 million and then even more. They just kept adding hundreds of millions of more. They issued more of them and sold them and raised cash in the process. AMC made money in the process of doing this, right? You're issuing more shares, you're raising cash. So now in total, we have 900 million, almost a billion, 900 million in total of these ape equity units. But there are only 516 million AMC shares. Now, this is all because of AMC intentionally doing this, raising cash in the process. This is all verified and confirmed. So now we have two different like stocks in a way, even though this is like an equity unit. APE and AMC, they have two different floats. Then later on, as time went on, Adam Aaron, the CEO of AMC and the AMC board wanted to do something very, very unusual. And they wanted to essentially dilute AMC in an ape conversion, right? That would mean that you turn all the apes into AMC shares. And then after that, they wanted to do a reverse stock split that would create a new kind of float. So, how would this work on paper? Basically, they wanted to take these 900 million apes, right? And then turn these 900 million apes into AMC shares. There are 516 million AMC shares. What is 900 million plus 500 million? Basically, 1.4 billion would be the new float. If this ape conversion happened, ape, which is worth only $1.80, is going to turn into something much more valuable. So it's going to gain value. Ape goes up if there is any like news in favor of the ape conversion. AMC stock is going to be diluted by something that's much cheaper. So AMC is going to lose value because the apes are worth so much less, right? The apes are only worth $1.80 or something like that as of right now. It is down a little bit more in the after hours, but I'm going to talk more about that later on. So imagine if you have a pot of soup and the soup has salt in it, right? If you keep adding water to it, it's going to become what? Less salty. That is similar to how AMC works when you dilute it. It's going to lose that value if you keep diluting it with something cheaper, such as ape. All right? So it's going to lose that salt. It's going to lose that value if you keep on doing that. That's why AMC tends to drop when there's any news in favor of an ape conversion. All right. So I hope that's as clear as possible. So let's just say they hypothetically succeeded. If AMC did end up doing this, if they got the ape conversion done, all right, what would have happened is we would have a 1.4 billion AMC float. Why? Because the apes are turning into AMC shares, and there are already 516 million of them. You add them together. Then they wanted to do a reverse stock split after that. If you get a reverse stock split from the 1.4 billion float, this would mean that you're basically going to be doing a 1-for-10 split. So if you had 1,000 AMC shares worth $1 each, hypothetically, right? After the reverse stock split, 1-for-10, it's going to turn into 100 AMC shares worth $10 each, right? 100 times 10 is still 1,000. The value of your shares is the same, but the way in which the shares are issued and the way they're like looking is going to be a little bit different. So what that would basically do is artificially bring the price up because you're going to be once again reducing the amount of shares there are. You're combining shares basically in a way, and the new float would be 1.141 million. Basically, this would be the new float. This is a reverse stock split. If you need more information about it, you could just study it and look it up on your own. And then AMC could have diluted AMC more. The AMC board could have diluted AMC even more, tried to do it, fought for it, and do whatever they want to do to raise more cash. That is their plan. That's what their goal was. Now, this is what the plan was, right? We made it to step three. We're on number three already, but we were trying to get to number four. That's what AMC and its board, its CEO were trying to do. But what happened was the shareholders of AMC did not like this idea because they know that this is not always a good thing. They know you're just artificially diluting AMC. They know they're just trying to make money off of it, make cash off of it, and they know it's going to cause AMC to lose value. They know it's going to cause the share price to artificially go up, so shorts could take advantage of that and drop AMC even more. If AMC has only 500 or like this many shares, if you artificially bring the price up with the reverse stock split, you could short the thing much harder and cause it to drop way more dollars, right? So there are both pros and cons to it, basically. The good thing about this would be AMC could raise more cash, but for the most part, this wouldn't really benefit the retail investor, in my opinion, for the most part. So once again, I'm trying to be unbiased, talk about the good and bad of each of these decisions, but now let's talk about something else. With that said, okay, AMC ended up actually having to fight in courts to make this happen. The retail investors, the shareholders ended up fighting in court saying that they do not want there to be an ape conversion and a reverse stock split. So we're just stuck on step three. We didn't get to step four or five. And they started fighting and fighting and fighting. This went on for months and months. It was so annoying. And finally, the judge came out and they had a decision. You see, what happened was AMC had a settlement plan. They wanted to settle the case so that they could be able to do this. They wanted to be able to settle the case legally through different ways by like giving the shareholders shares, doing all sorts of things like that, shaking hands with them, and etc. And if anything, the shareholders once again went to courts to fight this out. They were not able to settle the case, and the judge came out and they basically denied the AMC, the company, to settle the case. They denied the settlement. They stopped it from happening. And what this means is they added a massive roadblock for AMC. They made AMC, the company, they made it much harder for them to dilute AMC. They made it much harder for there to be any kind of like ape conversion or anything like that. So it's very unlikely to happen in the near term at this point. And this is a big victory for AMC because it's going to maintain its value for longer. That is once again bullish news. I hope this is as clear as possible. So could AMC, the company, try to do this reverse stock split in this part right here? Could they try this out? They could try by fighting in court, but it's going to be much more difficult for them thanks to the courts denying the settlement. It is possible, but it's going to be much more difficult for them. Now, because it's more difficult for them, and because this basically delayed it, because this made it much more difficult, and AMC is going to maintain its value for longer and not be diluted by ape in the future, this basically means that AMC maintains its value, and this is bullish news for AMC. That's as simple as it gets. It's bullish news. AMC is going to maintain her value and not be diluted by ape for the reverse stock split. Bullish news because this is what retail wanted. Now, as a result, we have like more documents from the court for their reasoning. There's actually a 69-page document about this. In the bottom, they list all the reasons. It says right over here that the proposed settlement is not approved by the courts. Bullish news for AMC stock. Bearish news for APE. Okay, APE is going to drop because of this. AMC stock is going to go up. And you know what? You can actually play options on AMC. Now, what's interesting about AMC is the cost to borrow is 992% with only 30,000 shares available to borrow. On top of this, if we look at the options chain, there are about 76,000 calls out of the money and 9,000 in the money. If AMC keeps running and it manages to get a lot of these calls in the money for the Friday expiration and manages to close with more calls in the money than out of the money, this would lead to a potential gamma squeeze as market makers would end up hedging by buying back shares. They start buying the shares because they have to delta hedge when we end up getting more calls in the money. And when they hedge like this, it's going to lead to even more bullish price action. And that's what's known as a gamma squeeze. And if it keeps squeezing like crazy, it is technically possible for it to even be like a short squeeze, but I just want to remind you all that AMC is very manipulated, and they do try to manipulate AMC through the options chain. So it's going to be very difficult. It's not really like easy. I know what I'm saying sounds so easy, but it's not actually easy whatsoever. It's very difficult, but it's worth noting that at the very least, there should be some upside because of this. Why? Because AMC is going to see lots of people buying into the stock. That's the first thing you have to remember. Lots of retail are going to be hyping, seeing all these YouTube videos over the weekend, seeing people learning about how this is working. People are going to be buying in like crazy. Look at how much this thing ran in just a few minutes. It went from $4 all the way up to almost $9. It almost doubled in such a short period of time. All right. And then it has potential to start pushing up. If we do end up getting more calls in the money than out of the money by Friday, we could get a gamma squeeze. It's a possibility, not a guarantee, since it's very manipulated basically, and there's no guarantees it's going to go that high. I don't want you guys to expect 1,000 a share, 100 a share, all time highs or anything like that. But I do believe it could make its way up to double digits. That's very realistic and very possible to get to about $10 to $12 or even higher than that. But one thing you have to remember about AMC is this, and this is where I'm going to talk about Tesla. AMC is not necessarily a stock that goes up forever, and playing options could be tricky sometimes because look at how AMC has been moving, okay? January 2021. Wait, hold on. Let me fix my chart. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that, guys. January 2021, AMC pumped to about $14 if you account for the splits, then came right back down. In March, it pumped and came down. In June of 2021, it pumped and came down. September, the same thing. December, the same thing. Going into March of 2022, it pumped all the way up to 21, then came right back down. It went from, hold on, it went from like $8 to 21, then came down. In August, it pumped all the way up to 17 almost, then came right back down. And then very recently, it pumped to about $8 and came all the way back down to like 3. And then since then, it's been very flat, just waiting for the settlement. So now that the court denied it, just as a reminder, guys, AMC could still try to dilute its share price with the ape conversion, then eventually a reverse stock split afterwards. But it's much more difficult for them. And because it's more difficult for them, AMC is going to maintain its value for longer. And that's bullish news. For that reason, buyers are going to be stepping in most likely. They're going to start pushing this thing up. Institutions are already buying in big orders. And then as it starts pumping, this could lead to some short covering. I'm not saying all shorts have to cover at once. It's going to lead to like some crazy all-time high squeeze. I'm not saying that whatsoever. I'm just talking about this thing running a couple of dollars to at least $10 or higher, and good money could be made in the process. All right. How does this relate to Tesla? The answer is you have to strategize when playing this because AMC has a tendency of running, but it does cool off too. And it has dropped many, many times in the past. So it's very important that we note this. And when you watch AMC, you have to be very careful. So let me go to the current day. I think my chart went back by mistake. Anyways, AMC pumped like this, right? What you want to do is, and this is not financial advice, you don't have to buy or sell AMC shares. It's your choice, not financial advice. When it runs like this, you want to look for a good call entry. When you have your calls and you see this thing going up, a really good strategy that a lot of these institutions and hedge funds and pro traders use is they start raising their stop losses. So they keep holding it, right? Let's just say you bought calls at $4, it starts pushing, you raise your stop to 5, then 6, then 7. And if it does end up coming down, it's going to trigger your stop. It's going to trigger your stop, and you're going to end up securing the profits. Now, if it comes down like this, like you know how it got rejected off 8.76? You got this rejection and a back test of the 5 EMA on the 15-minute time frame. So like right here, we got this back test and a really nice bounce. You could have entered calls right here on this drop, very close to the 5 EMA. As you had your calls, you could have held on to them as this thing went from like the 6s all the way back up to the 8s, and you could have scalped it quite nicely. And as it went up, you could have raised your stop to $7, 7.5, and the list goes on. And you don't even have to manually do this because sometimes stocks move so fast you can't really do this manually. Sometimes you have to like remember that sometimes stocks move like crazy and you can't just do it quickly. So you have to just have this mental fortitude in mind and be able to watch it from your own mind. So sometimes I even do that. Honestly, guys, I can't always set stops quickly. Sometimes stocks move too fast for me to do that. So what I do is I have my finger or my cursor on the sell button, and I'm ready to get out the second it hits my stop, just based off my mental, uh, just based off of it mentally, and also based off stops if I do have it set. So I just want to inform you guys about that. That's a really good strategy you could use. You buy calls, watch AMC pump. It comes down, you have a stop set. You raise your stop. If it hits that, you secure profits. You're good. But if it doesn't do that, and it keeps going up and up and up and up. You could keep on, raising your stop over and over again, and you keep on making good gains off of it. What is AMC going to do? I'm expecting some lots of retail buyers to be buying into it. We're seeing lots of AMC content creators coming back. We're going to bring in more hype for it. And we're going to see more individuals buy into it, and as they get very excited about the settlement rejection by the courts, right? That is still bullish news technically, because remember, AMC is a very emotional stock, and so many people are waiting on the sidelines with their cash and their money, especially retail coming in. And we're going to see some short covering as a result of this. Shorts are going to start covering at least on small hedge funds. Just because shorts cover does not mean it goes to all-time highs. It could just slowly cause it to pump a bit. And then more people start buying, and we're going to see if we can manage to produce a gamma squeeze, if we could get more calls in the money than out of the money to get market makers to hedge. If not, then it is what it is. Now, how does this relate to the market? How does this relate to Tesla? Sometimes stocks pump and dump really fast, or they make big moves quickly, and you have to be prepared for them. This is going to be a very good exercise for doing that. If you look at Tesla, okay, look at the 15-minute time frame on Tesla. Tesla came up and then it dumped just a couple of hours ago, or like today. It came up here, right? It dumped like crazy. This would have been a really good time to exit those puts if anyone was playing puts hypothetically on Tesla, or if they sold covered calls, right? If they sold covered calls, they could have just like exited the positions right over here. Then, as this thing was reversing, you could either try to take calls on this move up here, but that's a little tricky. What you could have done is watch for this push up to this 262 area, watch for the back test of like 260 or so, and then you could have entered calls like right here and rode this thing from 260 all the way up to like 267. And on the way up, you raised your stop loss to 262.5, 265, or etc. You can mentally do this, or you can manually do this depending on the platform you're using. So that's a really good strategy that relates to Tesla if you are trying to trade this on a daily basis, if you're trying to scalp it. And you could use AMC stock as a really good stock to exercise with when it comes to trading almost anything. So it's going to be very fun. So make sure you watch it. And always remember that AMC is risky when it comes to options because it moves very fast. So don't risk way too much money and secure profits quickly. I must warn you about that. Sometimes when you're trading, you have to do this for like Tesla as well, for like options. I'm not talking about shares, I'm just talking about options. Sometimes it's very important to do that. And I just want to make that as clear as possible. This could be a very, very good amount of practice for you if you want to trade AMC just for fun. The market may be slow because of all these big earnings coming out in the FOMC meeting, but AMC has a lot of potential to try to push up thanks to FOMO, which is just the fear of missing out from retail investors, institutions buying in, short covering, and all these different things. Because remember, AMC has a high cost to borrow and very few shares available to borrow, which is technically another bullish signal for it as it's becoming more difficult for shorts. All right, so that's my video for the day. Use AMC as a lesson, learn from it, learn and strategize if you are planning on trading it. It's your choice. I'm not giving any financial advice. And then apply this knowledge you gain, apply these strategies to Tesla and any other stock out there, because this value you're getting is almost immeasurable. All right. So also I want to add that this could be a very good play for the beginning of the week as the market's looking kind of slow and weak. This could be a lot more fun and very, very, very lucrative. People can make 100, 200, 500, 1,000% gains on AMC if you play it right. You can make crazy money on it. But remember, you got to secure those profits. You don't want to be holding options for too long in a stock like this. Okay. That's a very, very important lesson. It pumps and dumps oftentimes, and you want to just get in and get out quickly. It's okay. You can always re enter, and do not let greed get the best of you. Greed could work when everyone else is fearful, but greed could also be your enemy. It could also mess up your option plays. It could also mess up your ability to trade rationally. All right. So that's what I have for this video. I just wanted to talk about AMC. It definitely has potential after the judge denied the settlement, and that is bullish news. It's going to likely continue to pop, and we're going to be watching it very carefully. This will relate to Tesla, okay? Watch it and use this knowledge you gain, use your strategies, and then apply them to Tesla in the future or any other stock out there when we see lots of volatility like this, and it can really improve your trading. All right, thank you for listening. Have a great day, everyone. This is my AMC update since so many people requested it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Don't forget, I have another video coming out about the NASDAQ 100 rebalancing that's happening over the next couple of days. I'm going to be releasing this in just a few hours. It's going to relate to Tesla too, excuse me. Thank you for listening. Tesla and AMC to the moon. The long term is very bright, and peace out.